Hello and welcome. This is Two Wheeling Classics. I'm Hayley Coxon, and today I'm in the studio and joined by a few wonderful gentlemen here. We're going to be talking pre-TT Classic. Now, the race and the event has been going on for over 30 years, and it's firmly still in the loyal fans' diaries who enjoy many classic events, and I can't wait to get myself to it this year. The entry list is gigantic and wonderful. So some of the names on there we're going to discuss in a short while. But joined in the studio today are some of the committee members and the guys that keep this amazing event going. So we have Mr. George Peach, Phil Tubman, and of course, Mr. Phil Edge. And lucky enough, beside me, we had a little visitor to the studio today, the great Roy Moore. So of course, Roy has experienced the event as a fan and as a commentator, and he's got so many amazing stories. So he's going to join in the conversation, share some of those with us. I've managed to pull him into it. So, gents, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate your time. You're getting closer and closer to the event. George, how has it been bringing this pre-TT Classic together?
Hectic, I suppose, but everything's coming together well now. Entries have closed. We've got, I think it's 142 competitors have entered. Obviously, some of them in 5 races, some are only in single races, but we've got full grids in virtually every race. The sidecars as well, we've got full grid for that, which is great. And yeah, we're looking forward to some good weather. We don't always seem to get it for the pre-TT Classic, but fingers crossed this year we will.
Yeah, great. I'll get doing the sun dance for a second. Phil, how has it been then bringing everything together? You've got the... let us know some of the names that you've actually got there that have entered into this year's pre-TT.
Right, well, there's Mike Hose, Will Loader, Jamie Coward, Dominic Herbertson, Alan Oversby, Barry Davidson, who else is there? Rhys Hardesty. There's mountains off them really, you know, sort of thing. But
great. And Phil, the event is well loved, the track is well loved, and the committee and the organisation is well loved. It's always great to start gearing up, isn't it, to this event finally happening in just a few weeks.
Very much so. It's you say well established, so now 30-something year now, and it's still as popular as ever it was, and the proved by the entries. We've oversubscribed in some entries, so we had to put extra race on as usual, and the whole atmosphere starts to come about now. And once we start getting the course built, which is going to be shortly over the next couple of weeks, that's when it really sort of hits home that we're about to start action back at Milan again.
Great. Oh, it gets me so excited. So tell me the scale of which, so where you're at right now, and we've got, how many weeks have we got now? 5 weeks?
5 weeks on.
Yeah,
5 weeks this weekend.
The scale of the organisation. Okay, so
5 weeks tonight we'll be signing the rides on.
Fantastic. 5 weeks. Be here before we know it. Now, the marshals that you need for this kind of event as well. How has it been for bringing the marshals together in this kind of
I think on the marshalling side, they're coping. We're always wanting marshals.
Yeah.
Obviously, with the 2 years sabbatical, we were forced with the pandemic. Hasn't helped matters, and people took early retirement and various other reasons, and it's hard to get people motivated a little bit since the pandemic. This is a general way of life, I think, now.
Yeah.
People realise there are more things to do, but I think they are still looking for marshals, and hopefully we'll have sufficient for.
That's good to know.
On that side.
Get yourself signed up for marshalling if you're going to be over and you fancy, you've already trained in it, you've already done it before. Get yourself signed up and support the guys. Phil, over the years you must have seen so many incredible machines and riders racing that Milan circuit. Who are you looking forward to seeing back, returning back this year?
Well, it's been such a popular event that we've had so many people at the Southern 100 where it all started in 1955. But today we have, as George said, Alan Oversby. He's got to be there as a main man. But all of these guys, I think there's any one of about 5 that could win every class. So I don't have any favourites. It would never do to have favourites, but we have friends who come back and see us every year, which is great. I just tend to be the father figure now, having been at it for so long. These guys do all the hard work these days, and I just strut around and try and make the place look happy.
You definitely do that. Great. It's such a great paddock, isn't it, Royston? Now, you've got so much experience there. You spent so much time in it. You must have watched some incredible races around that circuit.
Yeah, brought down by my Uncle Jack in 1955, not too aware of what was happening, but just so pleased to have been there at the birth of the Southern 100, and then watched it progress. You know, all the star riders, even back in those days, Terry Shepherd, Bob McIntyre, Alistair King, and Freeman in the sidecars and all that. They were names who just wanted to come over, and the boys welcomed them, and they appreciated that, possibly because they didn't get maybe the same treatment at other venues, and the friendliness of the Southern 100 has just shone through and continues. And then when they started the pre-TT Classic for people of a certain age, that was bringing all those memories back again in old machinery with modern riders, and continued right through to this day and age. And 5 weeks away, it won't be long going over.
Yeah. Oh, the smells, the sounds. Oh, I can't wait.
The only thing that's missing is the Castrol R. We don't get the Castrol R smell that we used to get. It's always a favourite. They were going to turn it into an aftershave, but it never materialised.
Still an opportunity there, maybe. George, so the history that you've got, your daughter is with you as well. She's part of the organisation.
Yeah, she's the secretary of them.
Working hard.
Yeah.
All of you just put so much into it. It's just a beautiful family organisation. But how is it for you now, being with your daughter? Do you guys still get excited about getting going, about the racing, or are you always just very your heads in the organisation and bringing it all together?
We get excited about it, obviously, because like Phil said, it's bringing people over who we've known them for years now, and we've got so many friends who come over and compete, and you know, it's just great that we try and help them. If there's anybody has any problems, we endeavour to help them if we can, you know. So fingers crossed it'll be a good race meeting again.
Great. And do you have any favourite stories or favourite riders over the years? If there's anything that stands out, any particular machine that really stood out for you, that really...
Certainly for this year we've got another rider I forgot to mention for us, Andy Hornby's riding MV3s on the 350 and 500 class, and then we've got a couple of Dominic Herbertson's on the Yamaha 500 Yamaha as well, which they're both very quick bikes, so that should be good. But yeah, I mean, I suppose one of the things that stands out for me, it's a personal thing, is when son-in-law won 5 races or something at the Southern and at the pre-TT Classic in 1 year. It was a wet year, and I think they only had 5 or 6 races, and I think he won virtually every solo race. But
you're talking Chris
Palmer, yeah.
Great. Wonderful. And Phil, what about you? Is there anything over the years that really stood out to you in a memory of a particular rider or even a machine that really made its mark around the course?
It's difficult. I don't get to see any racing.
I know.
I'm stuck in the corner out of the way. People never really informed of the results. But no, I admire every one of them, whether they come first or last or what have you. One gentleman was a character I don't like was Ted Bedwick.
Ted
Fennick, he was from York. He raced in the early days of the Southern 100, then came back with the classics, and competed every year. And it was unique, and he had his race number was his age. I think it was 88. I think was last year on that side of it. But he was a character, and I think he won about 3 races, even in towards the end of his career, on that side of it. So there so many of them. We've got in with the early days of the classics. We had Arthur Wheeler, who was a World Championship in the first World Championships in 1962. He retired from the World Championships then, having won the Argentinian 250 Grand Prix, and he was racing up until the 90s with us on the 700 on his Motor Gutses, and we also did the Manx as well. He was, there were so many characters.
Yeah.
There still are, but
Yeah.
they seem to have something extra about them, and the fact that they've been all around the world racing in the heydays of MotoGP as it is now, when it was hard work in the paddocks, and you're going from race to race, you know, on a shoestring. You get paid one meeting, that paid, you go to the next, and they'd come back to here to race with us. You know, their history behind them was fantastic.
Yeah.
Still is.
Yeah.
You know, even some of the TT boys, you know, coming back, take time out to race at the pre-TT then. And of course, a lot come back in July for the 700 itself. That's another day for another day, that.
Great. Wonderful. And Phil, what about yourself?
Well, I can always remember Phil Reed
Yeah.
on that multi-Honda coming down the bypass, and he actually passed one of the local riders just where the paddock is now, and the local lad looked as if he was going backwards. The noise and the sight of that machine coming down the bypass was just fantastic, and that, in my memory forever, it was such a terrific event. It just added to it. It was great. Yeah.
And how about you, Oyster?
Yeah, well, getting dragged down. This was not pre-TT Classic, but the bike was. Honda had arrived in '59 on the island, so we'd followed them. And then Uncle Jack arrived a bit early when we were going down with Jeff Cannell in the old man's taxi, I think we went down in. And he was bubbling. He said, I've just heard, he said, John Hartle is bringing a Honda 4 over. He'd had an accident and he wasn't fully fit, and Honda wanted him to experience the road racing. So he said, I've heard he's been going round the course this afternoon on a Lambretta scooter, and he said the Honda 4 will be out tonight. And it was, and he cakewalked the event. John Hartle, it's in the record books. As I say, when you're now talking about pre-TT Classic, that would be nice to get a Honda 4 back, which is not unusual, but not in the same ilk as a works Honda machine. We have 4-cylinder Hondas and 4-cylinder Yamahas going round. We even had a victory for, I think it was Alan Oversby on Brian Richards' 3-cylinder MV, and that was a moment to savour as well. But I would be thinking that probably John Hartle, in my early memory, it would be about 61, I would think, yeah. But he did that. Certainly I was off an age where you could appreciate it. But there was nothing quicker in the early days than Bob McIntyre, single cylinder, Joe Potts Norton. And the old man took us down, I think Uncle Jack took us down initially, and then the old man came down. We walked to Church Bends, and it just the way he went through, so smooth, and part of the history of it as well. And then, of course, it had all come after 1957 when he'd been a work steel era rider. And here he was with that first 100 mile and up to his credit, and supporting a local meeting on the Isle of Man with his good friend Alistair King. So yeah, happy days. The sounds of the thing. Yeah, you don't get the smell of the oil but by certainly the sounds that are produced now by modern machinery, by the way they tune them up. I always felt it's a disappointment in the TT that they're not allowed, whether they're not allowed or they don't run as well when they're on open pipes. But if you had the modern Honda with 4 exhausts coming out the back, that would sound pretty impressive as well. But we've lived it. And I think that's part and parcel of what they call experience.
Yeah. And George, the future is looking great, isn't it, for the event? You've got 2024 and 25 dates confirmed already.
Yes, yeah, we're pretty confident. We've got ACU events and are involved with it, as long as they let us have a main say in most of the things. I'm sure it'll be okay. But yes, we're pretty confident that everything will run smoothly.
Great, gents. Well, listen, I can't wait for it to get going. 5 weeks and counting. Really appreciate your time. Best of luck with everything in the event. I will see you there, definitely. Royster, thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. So many more stories there to share, I think, about the Pre-TT Classic.
Yeah, well, we've got a mind full of information. We could bore the best of them.
We can make up.
Never let the truth spoil a good story.
Thank you, gents.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
Two Wheeling Classics. I'm Hayley Coxon, and thank you for joining us.